这个场次的主题是从政策到实务，在变迁的网际网络环境下的 IP 资源治理。So we now move to our next session titled From Policy to Practice, IP Resource Governance in a Changing Internet. 那我们知道呢，在现在的网际网络的环境之中 ，IP 资源管理已经不再只是技术社群内部的议题，因为各国的法规、资安挑战还有治理模式不断的变化。那 IP 资源如何分配、管理还有落实，也逐渐成为影响网络信任还有制度的透明，还有实务运作的重要课题。So in today's internet governance, we understand that IP resource management is no longer just an internal issue for the technical community. We understand that as regulations, cybersecurity challenges, and governance models continue to evolve around the world, how IP resources are allocated, managed, and put into practice has become an important issue affecting trust, institutional transparency, and day-to-day operation as well. 那这个场次呢，会带大家去思考一下，如何让 IP 的资源政策不只是停留在原则的层次，而是能够真正回应 ISP 还有网络营运现场的需求。同时呢，也在开放由下而上，还有多方参与的治理精神之下，来找到区域架构、国家政策还有产业实务之间的平衡。So moving on to this session, we are going to think about how IP resource policies can move beyond high-level principles and truly respond to the needs of ICPs, the network operators on the ground as well. At the same time, we will explore how to strike a balance among regional frameworks, national policy consideration, and industry practice, while upholding the spirit of open, bottom-up, and multi-stakeholder governance. 那这个场次呢，我们会邀请到台网中心的丁启平副执行长来为我们主持。The moderator for this session is Ms. Joy Chan, Deputy CEO of TWNIC. 那同时，这个场次邀请到的语坛讲者包含了 APNIC 政策经理暨资深网络分析师 Dave Phelan, Mr. Dave Phelan, Policy Manager and Senior Network Analyst at APNIC, 以及 JPNIC 的政策长前孙昌纪 Mr. Akinoli Maimura, Chief Policy Officer of JPNIC, 还有台网中心的顾敬恒组长 Mr. Jinheng Gu, Director of TWNIC. Welcome to all the panelists. I will now give the floor to the moderator. 接下来把时间交给主持人丁启平副执行长，有请。
Thank you very much, and thank you all for staying with us with Dr. Isaki, and continue on with also the IP open policy, one of the major forum here. So I am going to be running this session to have three wonderful panelists to share with you on what's happening within APNIC, within in Japan area, and as well as locally here in Taiwan. So first, let me introduce you Dave Phelan. Dave is the policy manager and the senior networking analyst. I know he comes from with a very broad background and knows almost everything in the internet world on the networking side of it. As we mentioned earlier, I just want you to understand that this is a policy forum and this is open. So this is not a top-down. Dave is not going to make any policy by himself. He's really collecting all the information, all the needs from the community, because they are here for the community. So we like to utilize the time and having him share with us and how some of the things work. And I'm sure you're going to be very benefit from that if you're running your IP and working with us on the IP world. Thank you, Dave. I think the floor is yours. Does he have a click? Do you want to?
I'll sit down.
He's making me standing, so he's sitting down. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. As Joy said, my name is Dave Phelan. I am the policy manager at APNIC. I've been doing this job for about a year now. I've taken over from somebody who was doing this quite well. And actually, Ching Heng on the end here is one of our policy SIG co-chairs. So it's good to have him here with me. So I'm going to talk in sort of broad strokes about internet number resource management and how how policy actually is applied in practice. So the first thing we need to, I guess, touch on is the context and governance of Internet Number Resource Policy. So Internet Number Resources, so things like IP addresses and autonomous system numbers, they play a very foundational role in enabling global Internet connectivity. They allow networks to identify themselves and exchange traffic across the Internet and across international borders in a consistent and predictable way. So the importance of these resources don't necessarily come from ownership, but in the way that they are coordinated. We have to make sure that we have global coordination efforts, otherwise we wind up with fragmentation in the Internet. So historically, this system's worked really well in the background, which is sort of a victim of its own success. It quietly does what it needs to do, and everything continues to generally work. Policymakers and regulators and security agencies are now paying a lot more attention to what we're doing in the number space. They're looking at how they're managed, if there's underlying things that need to change. But as far as people in this room, we're more concerned about the actual public accessibility of services to our customers and our users, and making sure that the processes we have in place continue to remain open. On the other hand, we've got a misunderstanding from certain sectors within the community about how numbers are actually managed and the purpose and the coordination of these. So for global network connectivity, we're more about consistency, making sure that people can actually utilize the resources that they have been allocated. So who are all the players here? So when I'm referring to stakeholders in the community, I'm referring to two distinct groups, but they can also overlap. So stakeholders typically are network operators or service providers, the internet exchange points on the internet, governments and public authorities are stakeholders, as well as the technical community and civil society. When I'm referring specifically to the community, I'm talking about those that actually participate in policy. Now, they can be APNIC or TWNIC members, or they can be anyone who has an interest in Internet Number Resource Management. It's open to everybody, and it's based on participation and not status. If you don't say anything, your voice is not heard. If you sit quietly and let everybody else make decisions, then the decisions are not, you're not part of the decision-making process. So you need to be involved to actually have an impact on the outcomes from policy. So we talked about very briefly, we are a bottom-up governance. So what I mean by bottom-up, at APNIC, we do not make the policies. Our sole job is to interpret the policies, we facilitate the meetings, we then have to implement the policies in a fair and consistent manner. We ensure that operationally we are carrying out the intent of the policies. Now, in the background, there's a lot of review process that goes in from our side in terms of reviewing the policies, running everything through the different teams that need to be involved for implementation. And obviously we have to talk to legal departments, but typically APNIC policy is developed bottom-up, but it also applies to the national internet registries as well. There are a number of policies that actually have exemptions for the NIRs, and if we'd had a little bit more time, I was going to quickly talk about one of those, but that's effectively where we're at. So with this additional attention that we're getting from different sectors, from the public policy and regulatory communities, it's often driven by concerns about cybersecurity. Other things like data protection, market fairness, and specific national digital strategies. It's important to understand that this increased visibility occurs, but we don't need to reframe how these resources actually coexist. We don't want unintentional misinterpretation of what the importance of the numbers are. Our IR system was not designed to replace national authorities, nor was it to operate as a regulatory body. Instead, we provide neutral, technical foundation that supports interoperability. As policy interest grows, the challenge is to explain how this system actually works, why it has been successful, and how it can continue to operate effectively alongside national frameworks. This requires careful language and consistent messaging. The focus should remain on transparency and accountability and in alignment with community-developed policies rather than formal designation or classification. By maintaining this balance, the RIR system can engage constructively with policymakers while preserving the characteristics that have made it effective for decades. So how are the RIR and APNIC policies evolving? So they continue to evolve basically in response to operational changes and challenges. The most visible one of those has been the shortage of or scarcity of IPv4. As the IPv4 resources have become more scarce, there have been policies put in place globally to allow for the fair distribution of these resources. At the same time, there's also a stronger emphasis on accountability and accuracy of the registration data. Sadly, the registration data is only as good as the information that is provided by the users of the address space. These changes are not a shift away from the bottom-up governance. Instead, they reflect the community responding to new conditions. While preserving core principles, policies are becoming more explicit and detailed so that they can be applied consistently in alignment with community expectations. Policies aim to remain neutral and globally applicable while providing enough clarity to the RIRs to operate responsibly. This evolution shows the system adapting through consensus rather than through a top-down mandate. The policy implementation process is probably the most important component and most complex role that we have at the RIR level. The policies don't apply themselves. They must be interpreted and implemented by staff who work directly with the members. This includes checking for eligibility of resources, ensuring that we are doing the fair and good thing for the members. Operational teams have to make sure that we're applying that same rule while recognising different levels of experience within our community. Not all of our members are at the same technical level, and not all of our members have the same requirements. The translation layer is where abstract policy principles become real outcomes. Clear procedures, staff training, and transparency all contribute to making this process understandable and defensible. By focusing on consistency and openness, RIRs can demonstrate accountability without becoming a regulatory body. So, practical ways that APNIC supports the community. So obviously our primary role is the resource management services. So maintaining the member data, maintaining the actual back ends for all of these internet number resources, conducting transfers in line with all of our different policies. APNIC also provides a large amount of technical capacity building within the community. We have a very strong focus on certain areas in the Pacific that are very much just coming into the internet age. Some of them are getting their submarine cables for the first time. So it's a big learning curve for a lot of these networks. And with our very diverse region we have at APNIC, we have 56 different economies, covering 9 to 10 time zones. It's a lot of area that we have to deal with. So by focusing on support rather than control, APNIC helps members navigate changes while reinforcing the shared norms and expectations of the number resources. So from global engagement, governments are very increasingly interested in how internet resources are managed, and this engagement is a reality that we can't ignore. APNIC's approach is to engage constructively while remaining neutral and consistent with community-developed policies. Governments are one of several important participants in the broader internet ecosystem, and their perspectives are now a part of the discussion. However, engagement does not mean changing the governance model or centralising control. Different economies react with the RIR system in different ways, including through direct membership or national internet registries such as TWNIC. What matters most is alignment with global coordination and policy consistency. By maintaining clear boundaries and focusing on technical coordination role, APNIC can support dialogue without creating pressure or fragmentation or nationalisation. This balanced approach helps preserve trust at both the regional and the global levels. So my key takeaways is coordination is key. Internet number resources are operationally important, but their strength comes through coordination and collaboration. Trust is built through predictable processes, transparent decision-making, and community-driven development. Bottom-up governance remains essential. Even as external attention increases, bottom-up evolution should be seen as adaptation, not as a loss of neutrality. Equally, operational practice is just as important as written policy because it is where the trust is tested every day. APNIC's role is to translate community decisions into fair and consistent outcomes while supporting members and engaging with national considerations in a careful and balanced way. By keeping a focus on global consistency, openness and alignment, the Internet Number Resource System can continue to support a stable and interoperable Internet for the region and beyond. That is all I have.
Can we hear? Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Dave, for your wonderful presentation. I think one of your key takeaway is for coordination. For most of us, I think at least one of the key takeaway is to speak up, let the voice to be heard on the IP policies. So with that, I'm going to ask my second speaker, Akinori-san. He's coming from as a Chief Policy Officer from APNIC. I think his policy is probably more than the IP policy, but let's hear from him. Let's give the floor to Akinori-san.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joy. Thank you very much for having me here. My name is Akinori Maimura, as introduced kindly. I put the titles for my presentation, Effectiveness in Changes. Oh, sounds cool, isn't it? All right, myself, Chief Policy Officer of APNIC, and then I have been involved in this industry for almost 30 years, and then maybe not the longest. I am the second longest to Koewu here, I think. Okay, then that's me. So I am involved in a lot of the internet organizations until now. Here, I'd like to look back some development and the evaluation of the internet. We are at the 2026, and 1995 was in Japan. It is called as the internet, the first year, because we had Windows 95, which natively spoke the TCP/IP at the time, and then I was involved there as the internet engineer at the time, but the internet then was completely different from the internet right now. It's like 9.6K BPS modem. That's the really high speed circuit at the time, and then we were so excited to receive the email response immediately from Europe in 5 minutes. Oh wow, it's the internet. I was so excited to observe the White House homepage, and then waiting for the JPEG picture is perfected in maybe 30 seconds. That's our internet at the time. But right now, our internet right now is fast enough to observe the high definition live video of the FIFA World Cup. It's totally different thing. And then as you see in the users line, the percentage is the percentage shows the percentage against the world population. The internet users percentage against the world population. Let's compare that in 2000. We only have the 6.7% of the world population using the internet. Right now, we have the more than 60% of the world population using the internet. It's totally different thing. 7% of the classroom, almost one person per class, only use the internet. That's really, nerd. It's really the mania of the IT. But right now, we have the 70%, 60%, 70% of the classroom student using the internet. It's boom. It's a popular thing. In that case, what we have in the internet is totally different. Internet for the mania and the internet for everyone. It's really different. So right now, I like this picture, which is by the ICANN, maybe in 10 years ago. The logical layer, the yellow part is the unique identifier, DNS, the layer. And then on the top of that, we have town, city. We have the society on the internet, right? So it's the internet right now. The internet is right now the social infrastructure, as opposed to the toy for the manias. So the things are totally different, right? So, okay. That's the reason why we are doing the ICP2 revision, because ICP2 was created for the internet 25 years ago. Totally different thing, as I said. So right now we need a fix. We need the restoration of the ICP2 to have it serve to the current internet. So I put the screen, put the image from the one of the official document of the APNIC and the NIL member relationship agreement, which provide the obligation of the NIR and the APNIC, but it says virtually nothing. I mean that it says NIR should pay the fee to the APNIC, distribute the resource to the LIRs, and then comply to the policy. What else? What else is stipulated in ICP2 revision? That's what we need right now. We need to define what is the RIR for the current internet. So that's what we have been working on very, very keenly. So if it comes to the policy, I'd like to encourage you to visit the APNIC's policy proposal pages. That we have all policy proposals which have been proposed to the policy SIG. It is really good reading for us. These five were my favorite policy proposals. One is the IPv6 interim policy. By that, we defined the allocation sites to the /32, and then the utilization standard as host density ratio as the utilization standard. So that's really the creation. Another thing is the Prop 33 end site assignment policy for the IPv6, which revises the size of the assignment from the fixed /48 to the LIR's discretion. It's totally really revolutionary move, but it is a wise of them that they say that the proposals are Randy Bush and Philip Smith at the time. He said, when we created the IPv4, no one did imagine the internet is like that right now. So IPv6, we may not know anything about the future internet with IPv6. So that's really the wise of them. IPv6 IP address transfers in Prop 50. That's changed the principle of the IP address spaces. IP address at the time was to be leased from the RIL, and then when we have no other need for the IP address, we must return it to the RIL. But that had a big problem because the unused IP address space is the dead stocked in RIL's warehouse. We need to utilize that space to the demand. We had a need for the transfer policy at the time. And even we had, okay, let's skip to the 103. This is a very good proposal. Our final IP address policy proposal by, I think, the Randy Bush. He claimed there is no need for the IP address discussion, no need for the policy change. So it is somehow, suggestive. That what I mean is, we need to think about what is needed for the IP address policy. We are doing the IP address policy development by the open and bottom-up procedure, as they've emphasized. But that is for the information society. We are maintaining the IP infrastructure, and then we need to maintain the confidence from each internet users. That's our mission for the sake of the IP address management. So that's our job, and the job is ours. And then we not only the APNIC, but all APNIC members and the community members of APNIC. So let's think about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yakinori-san. I know that you're helping us to make up the time, and I really appreciate that. And you brought us from the ICP2, which I think it's in the broader sense, it's a policy guideline, if we can refer to the very specific policies that's been happening within the APNIC community. And as you said, that we have a big job to do. And just want to tell you all that in this IP community or internet community, we are making histories. So whether you know it or not, so speak up as we see how the policy should be evolving and supporting our needs. So I'm going to turn the floor to our final speaker, Dr. Ku from TWNIC. Thank you.
Thanks, Joy. And it's my honor to share our local perspective from Taiwan in a changing internet environment, how to build in a new strategy for Taiwan's network resilience and routing security. And in TWNIC is from the passive allocation to active digital governance. We will connect a global standard to local infrastructure, including the international InfoSec standard, next generation protocol, such as IETF standard and the network governance. Okay. So in the strategy, we have 3 local pillars of digital surveillance. Pillar 1 is in the management area, is build up the trust foundation. The pillar 2 is the technology area, is to build an IPv6 only wireless demonstration site to confirm the IETF standard to provide replicable local proof of concept. Is the technology area. And the pillar 3 is the promotion area, is the modern protocol diffusion. We leverage ISP partnership to drive the adoption of IPv6 RPKI and the quick cross-end user network, elevated overall resilience. So in pillar 1, we implement a single portal for seamless routing security. In pillar 2, we bridge the policy gap with the IPv6 only demo architecture. So the engineer will to support through the internal network environment. The pillar 3, we amplify the protocol diffusion via the ISP partnership. We build up the collaboration with ISP, data center, and the cloud service provider using the hub and the spoke adoption model. So we is also extending the ecosystem, such as the BRYP pathway and the data-driven governance. So we have the Taiwan Internet Number Resource Report, so to deliver the transparent data and highlight the reliance on edge computing and the tracking the global IPv6 APNIC real-world deployment matrix. And we have the mapping the member profile. This number resource report has been published on our website. Then we build up the trust, the flywheel, and the Taiwan digital moat from the internal core, from the RMS, ROA optimization, and the verification ring to build up the IPv6 only demo site, and to external diffusion ring to emphasize to make the ISP protocol amplification. Okay. So now I think the internet governance is a long-term journey that requires collaboration across all stakeholders. Thank you. This is all my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Jinghen. It's a wonderful presentation and sharing with us on the initiatives here in Taiwan. With that, I'm going to say my very big appreciation to Dave, to Akinori-san, and to Jinghen. And we're going to close the session as we are trying to catch up. And I hope everybody have a wonderful day here with the IP Open Forum for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Joy Chang, for moderating the session. May I invite all the panelists and the moderator to have a group photo to wrap up the session. And thank you once again to all the panelists for sharing your insights with us. 非常感谢这个场次的主持人跟语坛讲者。我们接下来要来合影一张。我们请主持人还有语坛讲者，那我们稍微往中间，稍微靠近一些些。那请看向我们中间的摄影师。一起比个赞，再一张。谢谢，我们再次掌声，谢谢这个场次的主持人，还有我们所有的语坛讲者精彩的分享，非常感谢。